Happy first podcast of 2026. I hope your holidays were amazing, emotionally warm, and spent with people that you care about. I had an interesting experience that actually inspires today's podcast, and I think it's a great way to start out the year. I haven't been here too much, been too busy living my animist life to talk about it, and that's actually what brings me back. I'm seeing really wonderful blossoming from people who are walking this path with me. And I want to share what that looks like and how it's happening so that others can have it too. If that sounds cool to you and you'd like to help support that vision, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help the channel to flourish. If it weren't for all y'all's engagement, I can tell you that we wouldn't have been here this long. So thank you for your support. Before we get into that, let's take a moment to acknowledge all that is. I give thanks and gratitude for the element of earth. Thank you for the ground beneath our feet, our homes, our bodies, and all the things that support our journey through life. I give gratitude and thanks to the air that animates our lungs, allows us to sing and communicate, and takes our thoughts to the other world. Thank you to fire that gives us energy to create, destroy, and renew all things. Thank you, water, for helping us to flow to the deepest, darkest places, for sustaining our lives, and for the dreams that connect this world to the next. I give gratitude to the plant, animals, and mineral kingdoms without whom we could not exist. May we always remember the interdependence that we share and always be good stewards of the earth so we continue to thrive together. Thank you to the human ancestors and those in the non-material realms who love and watch over us. I appreciate all that you do that is seen and unseen. Thank you. All right. So what I am seeing is people moving from separation and confusion to being more authentic, open, curious, vulnerable, and grounded. The types of questions that they're asking is changing from fear-based things to present moment, self-discovery, heart-centered questions about clarity, connection, and understanding. So beautiful. There is more me focus rather than worrying about what other people are doing and guarding against the harm that they may do. I don't mean that in a selfish way, but a more self-empowerment and self-contained way. There's less taking offense and more acceptance. There are fewer attempts to control outcomes and manipulate thinking, and there's a whole lot more trust. I know this would be a more powerful podcast if I talk about specific incidents, but I'm not, for privacy reasons. If you join the group, you may get to know these people, and their stories aren't on mine to share. Anyway, all this has happened as a result of learning emotional regulation, mindfulness, and social skills that people don't learn if they grow up with generational trauma. Your parents can't teach you what they don't know. Even if they weren't traumatized, but you were, you can't learn when your life is about survival. Those are two different brain states, and your brain has to choose, and it chooses to keep you alive. At Pan Society, we call this the sovereignty stage. This is about learning who you are so that you can show up authentically. How do you share yourself if you're people-pleasing to stay safe? That's not you. How do people get to know you if you're wearing a mask because everyone has let you down and all you want from them is to not look at you and leave you alone? That's not you either. So first, the emotionally safe setting allows people to let their guard down. You can't feel vulnerable and allow yourself to be seen if you aren't grounded and emotionally safe. Next, we learned and model skills so that people can see what it's like to be heard, respected, appreciated, seen, validated, and the things like that that make us human and connected. Twice last week, I was witnessing for people and asked them something or said something, and the response was, I've never been treated like that before, and I don't know how to respond. What they were talking about was being seen as human, important, valid, equal. That's a really important thing, and you can take that for granted, but it doesn't happen everywhere. If you feel looked down on, small, defenseless, and unworthy, how are you going to share your gifts? You're not. You're going to play small and avoid being seen. The world misses out on your light if you do that. It's a lose-lose situation. Nobody has to practice skills. This isn't a class. You can do what you want. They're there if you want them. And if you know what they are, you start to see them put into practice, and it's easier for you to adopt them too. And then we live life. We connect. We do things together, like talk about books and movies. We walk together. We give each other space to be seen. We can talk online as well about anything. There's no challenge where we're working towards a goal, but we do have check-ins to hold ourselves accountable and give ourselves a chance to be present. It's simple, non-directive, and experiential. It's life the way it's meant to be lived in the modern context. We don't live in villages anymore, so this is where we are. Everybody goes at their own pace and does what they feel comfortable doing. It's a big picture view of what we do. Now, I want to give you more specific guidelines, still big picture, but less so that you can use them right now to start connecting in a natural, animistic, balanced, grounded way too. What distorts thinking and behavior more than anything is trauma. Focus on clearing up your lens by clearing up your trauma. I'm a trauma therapist. I can talk about how, if you want to hear that, but do what you do. There are lots of ways to go about this. Trauma puts you in survival mode. It changes the way your brain experiences things so that things that are not threatening are perceived that way. So you might go around with a chip on your shoulder, feeling defensive all the time, or maybe critical, or always trying to make people like you. They can't connect authentically if this is where you live. Now, everybody has trauma. Healing's a process. I promise you that you will say, I thought I was over that a dozen times. Trauma has layers. When you get triggered, that's a sign that you've hit a speed bump that is slowing you down so that you see the obstacle and work to dissolve it. This is your body saying, I'm not with you. Feel your feelings so I can catch up. I'm frozen or sped up and I need to realign. This is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your nervous system was working well to keep you alive, but it's got a little hiccup and it needs to get back in alignment with the present moment. That's all. Everyone can heal. The body's miraculous. Someone I'll call Ned had triggers daily. They were running his life, and these weren't small triggers. He was having panic attacks daily, multiple panic attacks daily. It took about 4 to 6 weeks before the daily panic attacks stopped, and this wasn't a whole lot of anything happening on the outside for the first 4 weeks probably. But once the changes started showing up on the outside, they were quick. Maybe within 4 months, he wasn't having panic attacks at all, and he was a whole different person. He gained so much confidence and was relating to work and his partner in a completely different way. He had boundaries, and really, he was just so different. Was he healthy? No, but he was able to see life so differently that he can engage with life because he wasn't hiding every day. Everybody's story is different. Ned's progress went really fast, but I share his story to say that everyone can heal, and life looks a lot different from the other side of triggers than it does from the wounded side. Suggestion number 2 is to get outside a lot. You can't experience nature by looking at pictures of it. You have to feel the wind on your skin, see the birds flying in the sky, and hear the water gurgling on the shore. Engage with nature in all her forms. The more you slow down and are present with nature, the more that you will start to see the cycles and interconnectedness of things. There is a design that is encoded in all of life. When the intuitive understanding of all that starts to become conscious, you will move differently in the world. You will start to consider your actions differently, not from a perspective that's black and white, like don't cut down the trees, but in a more holistic way that might ask, how would removing this tree impact the life around it? First off, the second statement is a question rather than a mandate. It considers things holistically, and having dogmatic laws or rules can't work in every situation because life is dynamic. It's always changing. When you spend time in nature, that becomes abundantly clear. There are a million other benefits and awarenesses that can become a conscious part of your DNA if you spend time in nature, but I'll leave that to you to discover them. And let me know what they are in the comments. It's fabulous to share. So 3 is practice curiosity. We're all indoctrinated to compete with each other and to distrust and separate. I won't get into why here today. Just going to say that. So maybe I'll do that in a future podcast, but examine it to see if it's true. One way to bust out of that pattern is by asking questions like, is this true? And what do you think? If you can entertain ideas that seem outlandish to you, you have a chance of connecting with others who aren't like you. And most people are not like you. So why is this beneficial? Because we're all part of the same cosmic goo. If your hand is not friends with your foot, your body is disconnected and will likely have problems. Jesus said, love your enemy. There's wisdom in that. I'm not saying you should tolerate the hurtful things your enemy does, but if you can keep compassion in your heart and the awareness that this lost soul is a wounded part of you, you will always act in ways that are compassionate and wise. 4 is to be flexible. Nature's flexible. It's always changing. Bruce Lee famously said, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. That's a Taoist idea that reflects that the nature of nature is flexible. We're all here to be who we truly are, and this helps you to achieve that. If you ever catch yourself being dogmatic or inflexible, find a way to challenge your thinking. Yin and yang are partners. There is not one without the other. So everything is true and valid sometime, even in the extremes. It might not be wise or appropriate, but it is valid. Another reason to be flexible is that we have all been indoctrinated in ways that are unnatural. School is unnatural. Schedules, time, all that goes against the natural flow of life. Our calendar is unnatural. Being flexible and considering things that feel uncomfortable can help you to find that natural rhythm again. 5 is to connect. None of this has any value if you're all alone. Nature is by design connected. If you aren't, you're living outside of nature, and no creature does that except humans. It's insane that we have to learn what is instinctive, but here we are. Sometimes you have to make the opportunity to connect because we live in a society that's so disconnected. If so, so be it. Be patient with people who don't know how to do that or what it is. There's lots of those people. I remember in high school, the first time I went to a party with light-skinned people, they were all drunk or drinking. And I think there might have been a card game going, but the featured activity was definitely drinking. And I was really confused. I didn't know how to be in this environment because I don't drink and I didn't want to start. I didn't realize until much later that they were taught to socialize in that way, and many of them couldn't relate without being impaired. Lots of people have barriers to connection. Social phobia, anxiety, fear of being judged, self-consciousness, feeling ugly or unworthy, who knows? If this is you, it might be easier to connect with the trees or dogs. They don't judge. Look up, connect to the sky, with the stories in the sky. Dance, connect with music. Find a way that you can connect and expand from there. I'd also say to remove the crutches that you think help you to connect, but actually get in the way of authentic connection. I promise you, once you have authentic connection, you won't want to go back to the superficial ways because the contrast is so stark. It will feel empty and like a waste of time. 6 is to engage. Engage is to give of yourself and receive what others have to offer. It's being reciprocal. It's like breathing. You take in air and exhale carbon dioxide. Just give and take. We can't live without taking, so give of yourself. If you don't, nothing is sustainable. That's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about moving forward, so that if you're interested in animism, you don't have to dig through things to find bits and pieces of it. Well, you still might need to do that, but you're going to have to experience it through engagement so that your body has a lived experience of it. But I hope that moving forward, this podcast makes that easier. Now, there's more to living naturally, holistically, and in a connected way, but that'll give you a good start. And you don't have to know a single ritual. You never have to read a tea leaf or a tarot card unless you want to. Everything you need is already within you because you are nature. Nature is you. It's all really a journey of self-discovery. If you keep moving and growing, you will come to this center. All roads are valid and all lead here. Some meander more than others. Some may take the hard way, but they all lead here. So happy 2026. If you check out the archives, you will see how much we have pivoted and grown since we started. It's not a change in message, just a change in perspective and how to connect the viewer to the message. And I hope that you are growing too. If this is part of your path for a while, fantastic. Welcome aboard. And if you want a bit more than the podcast, a community to talk about your ideas and experiences, a place to ask questions, and a place to learn skills and participate in things like a book club, talking circle, movie talk. Check out the link for my private group. I've learned a lot and look forward to every gathering. And I do recommend it. Humans are tribal creatures. We need each other. We need community. You can grow without it, but at some point it really does become necessary. And of course, a live community is better than a virtual one. But if you're ready for that safe virtual space, you're welcome here. All right. See y'all soon. I'm Laura Giles. Thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to 2026 with you. Ciao.